cell biology, there's a concept where a cell can either be differentiated or undifferentiated. A differentiated cell has a fixed identity, but an undifferentiated cell, it holds potential. It could become anything. I thought about that a lot during college. You say to yourself, well, once I get into my major, I can breathe. But then it's once I get into medical school. Well, once I get into residency. There would always be something that you had to be excellent at to move on to the next step. A hallway that narrowed as you progress. A cell with less potential to become anything. And then everything paused. No pressure, no timelines, no sunk cost. COVID gave me the space for discovery and play that academia just couldn't allow. I remember sitting in silence and thinking to myself, do something. I felt this overwhelming wave of inspiration to finally create the portfolio I had always said I'd make one day. A place to gather old projects I'd left behind. I called it Anna Learns Things. It became a ritual, something to return to each morning. I needed that reminder that I'd always been a maker. Months before the pandemic, I told my mom I wanted to try beadwork. I opened the box of supplies she thrifted for me once before. Each bin of the box was filled with a pool of beads with so much potential, it was overwhelming. But in lockdown, there it was in the corner of my room. I regret inaction more than failure. I'd rather try my best and mess up than wonder what could have been. Because trying creates context, and every experience adds to the archive. After I graduated, I did a series of pop-ups around Seattle, and I was selling things I made out of my bedroom or down at the park. I got to meet the people who had been following along, and I started to feel some momentum. I had a job lined up, but I decided to put it aside and see what might happen if I took Anna Learns Things seriously. At the time, I really thought of it as a gap year experiment and something to fill my time between going to med school, but slowly, decisions started to roll in, and I wasn't hearing back, or I kept getting rejected. But here's the thing, if I had gotten into even one school, I would have gone. And so when I didn't, I actually felt a lot of relief instead of disappointment, because I had already known by then that I didn't really want to leave this life that I was building. And then I went through a pretty significant paradigm shift. I lived alone for the first time. I turned my living room into a studio. I got to decide how my time unfolded. And it was the opposite of everything I'd known. I feel most creatively inspired when I allow myself to experience life in the world, including the natural world, in organic ways, whether that's in a conversation or in a new environment. I think that gives me a lot of space to want to notice things and to want to notice the opportunity for a project that I haven't tried before. Seasonally, I'll release a series of one-of-ones where every piece is different, and generally they're shaped by how I'm moving through the natural world. I never quite know where it's going, but it's a great opportunity for me to branch out and challenge myself as a designer. With one-of-ones, I try to lean heavily into obscure and absurd color combos. Because each piece is unique to begin with, my thinking is why not make it as unique as possible. At a certain point, I realized that life is very short, and I think you should be as expressive as you want to be. And for me, at least, and I've found a lot of other people, that is expressed through color and shape. As I was building up the idea of creating merch for Anna Learns Things, I didn't just want a logo tee saying Anna Learns Things. And coincidentally at the time, I started a new brand within the brand called Spare Parts, and it was upcycled jewelry from bike shop trash. Balance is kind of analogous to moderation. You want everything in moderation, including moderation. So sometimes the balance that you try to create is actually a product of contrasting and swaying your product in a way that is far beyond conventional, and that makes it interesting and balanced in its own way. And I thought merging the merch with the spare parts was a perfect reflection of what Anna Learns Things really is: iterative, curious, and honest. Every year I publish my magazine, Current Part. It's my way of preserving the year in print as an archive of my projects, thoughts, and travels. Documenting is a form of honesty and self-care that I was always afraid of, because in the moment you're like, this is so unfabulous and insignificant and ugly. Like, why would I save this? But you will never regret saving a relic of who you are becoming. At home, I control my environment. But in the studio, I'm exposed to things I wouldn't find on my own, conversations I didn't expect, perspectives I didn't know I needed. Intdev isn't just a place to work, it's a space that rearranges itself. And me. Here, I don't wait until something's perfect to share it, and I get feedback in the moment. People watch as you build. And of course, we celebrate final products, but I think being in the thick of it together is a special type of production. There's this concept of two truths. One is the version of you that creates to be palatable, liked, understood, approved of. The other is the version that creates from your purest intent. In this space, I'm learning to trust the latter, and when I make a creative mistake, I'm reminded it's just part of the process. Because even in failure, you're still learning. And to me, the whole point is that I'm just here learning things.